Hi everyone, today is my October, today is my October, no that's still not right, October book haul. That word is so weird. I don't usually do these, but I'm trying to organize myself and do the sensible, normal thing, which is just to say, set my books aside until I'm ready to formally induct them into my bookshelves, which means make a note of what they are, how many I have. And part of doing that means giving you a book haul. Now, I did give a couple book hauls during the Friday reads of October, but most of these books weren't on those. So I will save those for last, and I'll rush through those a bit quicker. I should also point out that it's technically a birthday book haul because October was my birthday. So I made that as an excuse to buy as many as I wanted. And there were a lot more books that I don't have here that I had shipped to my sisters in America because it was cheaper. But with that said, moving on. First one is Special Relativity in Classical Field Theory, The Theoretical Minimum by Leonard Susskind and Art Friedman. And this book is the third in a trilogy of books about basics of physics, basically. And the first one has to do with classical mechanics and then quantum mechanics, and this is basically special relativity type stuff. I never took this class. I never took quantum mechanics. I took physics 1 and 2, so this isn't stuff I know. This is supposed to be a presentation of that material in a way that is accessible to the average reader. That said, it is almost like a textbook when you see what's in there. So I'm hoping it's can follow, but I do love this cover. And this is a topic I would love to understand a bit more than I do, because I don't really have a good formal introduction, even if it's a somewhat popularized formal introduction. This is the last of the series I needed. I did buy the other two off of Book Depository earlier this year, but this was much more expensive, so I had to order this from the UK because it was cheaper. But I did because I did the UK edition. Next is Murder, She Wrote by the woman who pioneered horror and that was not right. Murder, She Wrote, the woman who pioneered horror and speculative fiction by Lisa Kroger and Melanie R. Anderson. I'm excited for this one for a number of reasons, just because I love horror and I love this color of green. I love how firm it is. It's like no dust jacket. It's just whatever you call this, and I love it. I'm intrigued. I think it won the Shirley Jackson Award. And look at that, look at that beautiful, beautiful interior. Oh God, I'm really excited to get to that eventually. It's also nonfiction. I don't know if I clarified that, hence the name. Next up, I got the UK edition of The Only Good Indians because it was slightly cheaper than the American edition, or I guess American Canadian edition, and the only thing different really is the text. But I have read this in September. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars. I'm glad I bought it because I wanted it. In the same note, I wanted to buy more Stephen Graham Jones, and so I did. I actually had more sent to my sisters in America, but this is the only other one that I have here, which is The Fast Red Road, Stephen Graham Jones, A Plain Song. And I want to say this is a mystery thriller, not a horror book. One of his older books, The Fast Red Road, A Plain Song, is a novel which plunders in a gleeful, two-fisted fashion the myth of pop culture surrounding the American Indian. It is a story fueled by pot fumes and blues, boring and distorting the rigid conventions of the traditional outfits. Men strike poses from Gunsmoke, and horses are traded for Trans Ams. Pigeon, the half-blood protagonist, inhabits a world of illusion, of aliens, ghosts, telekinesis, and a water pistol violence, where television offers redemption, and the Indian always gets it up the ass. Quote unquote. That last thing was a quote unquote. I'm going to stop it there. I don't know what this is about, but I am very intrigued now. But I'm at the point where I really like Stephen Graham Jones and I want to read as much of, and eventually all of, his backlist. But he does have a decent amount of, I think, unpopular backlists like this that I'm not sure are on audio, but still things that I'm interested in. Which I guess if you're new here, I read mostly by audio and I buy them as souvenirs. Let's be honest here. The Mere Wife by Maria Dahvana Headley. And this one, I keep hearing things about mermaids. I need more mermaid books, yet I haven't read a single one, honestly. This one just intrigued me. I want to say it's fantasy horror, I'm not quite sure. The cover and the fact that it's about mermaids, and I want to say it's somewhat dark and fantastical and adult, not YA. is all reasons why I ended up buying it. I'm okay not going in without any particular details. Next up is Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantoro. And this one I think I heard about maybe in a couple places, but I definitely heard about it from, I don't remember her name, but I'll tag her up here. She was actually the first person I ever found on BookTube when I was researching a book. That's what first introduced me to BookTube, and so I'm very grateful for that. And I'm excited for this because it's supposed to be a parody, I think, of Scooby-Doo. Hence the dog and the meddling kids. So I think it'll be a good time. Next up is another horror-ish book, Daphne du Maurier, The Birds and Other Stories. I've since ordered, I want to say all of her stories, but they haven't come in the mail, or I ended up sending them to my sisters because I bought them probably on Thrift Books in America. But after I loved Rebecca so much, I had to buy this. I also want to watch the movie. I don't want to watch it before I read it, so I gotta do that. Next up, I bought a book that is Making History by Stephen Fry. Stephen Fry is a narrator of the British edition of the Harry Potter audiobooks, and he is also known for the new sets of mythos type books. And this is supposed to be, I want to say, a rewriting of history where the Germans won. That doesn't seem quite right. Michael Young is a graduate student at Cambridge who is contemplating his dissertation of the early life of Adolf Hitler. Leo Zuckerman is an aging German physicist and Holocaust survivor. Together they idealistically embark on an experiment to change the course of history. And with their success is launched a brave new world that is in some ways better than ours, but in other ways much worse. Fry's sci-fi tinged experiment in history makes for an ambitious and deeply affecting novel. It isn't exclusively queer, and I think the main character is queer. One of the main characters. I'm not quite sure. I just remember buying it because, one, I wanted to read it, but also I needed more queer books, and I know he talks about LGBT-ness stuff in here. Which I guess I should mention, I have a new rule of mine I'm trying really hard to stick to, that I buy 2-to-1 ratio of quote-unquote diverse books versus just cisgender white people, which is to say, diverse to me would classify as a LGBT or queer author or main character, or an author who is not white. That's what I'm classifying as diverse. So it's just to encourage me to buy more books by people who aren't like me. The idea being that I will gravitate towards books that are like me, and I'm going to read what I buy. So it's that simple. And it's actually not as easy as I thought it would be. But it also encourages me to think a lot about what books I want and which ones are actually really important to me. It keeps me from buying too many books by straight cis white authors. Next up, in that same vein, is Nalo Hopkinson. I heard about her from and Jerry from Onyx Pages, and I've actually bought most, if not all, of her books by now. This is the only one that's come in the mail, at least to here. And this is Falling in Love with Hominids, and I'm not quite sure what this is about. Like I said, I bought all of her books because of how much respect and love in Jerry and her page. And I trust her judgment. Finally, the last new book that I haven't talked about on this channel is a collection of Jane Austen. 4 novels, Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Emma, and Northanger Abbey. This was a gift from my advisor. I'm very thankful, for my 30th birthday. And I was so thankful because it's such a beautiful book. It really is. And now I have to read it because I have a rule for myself that I have to read books, or at least for a collection like this, at least start the book within a year. And so motivate me to do that. And I'm glad because I do want to read Jane Austen, or at least try. I first read Jane Austen, or I tried rather, when I was like 20, 19, fresh out of high school. And I could not get into it, but I have changed very much as a person and as a reader. And I'm hoping, and I expect actually, I'll be able to get through this fairly easily. I'm not a big fan of Victorian literature, so I might not love it, but I think I might like it. And like I said, I want to read it because it's a classic and because it was a gift. And to be clear, I'm not reading it because it was a gift. I'm already getting some interest, even if I don't expect to love it. I'm hoping that feeling of not going to love it is going to be proven wrong. Now going through a few books that I already talked about on this channel, just really quickly. Agatha Christie's Then There Were None. And this is, I want to say, been remade so many times, and I want to say One by One by Ruth Ware is like tangentially related to this. I'm not quite sure if that's true, but excited for that. My first Agatha Christie. Mythos by Stephen Fry. I alluded to this before. This is the first of his now trilogy of books that's sort of retelling Greek mythology. And I love that I found this like so cheap, like $10 Canadian, at my local used bookstore. Then 2 anthologies, The Book of Magic, edited by Gardner Dozois, which is just a book of magic-related short stories. And I got this because there were 2 of this. There's this, and there's one about like swords, which I don't necessarily love epic fantasy, but I think this will be a good introduction for me because I do like magic, and I think stories that center around that concept, that theme, is a good way to get me hooked in this genre a bit more. Finally, the big book of science fiction, edited by Anne and Jeff Vandermeer. I already own at least one anthology, The Weird, which is a set of weird science fiction by them, and I also have The Time Traveler's Almanac, which you can see right there, which I've only just started, like maybe halfway through it, but it's about time travel, and I trust them because I think they're really good. What do you call it? This and weird fiction are not on audio, so it's one of those things where I have to pace myself and go through it, but I am going to try, because first off, this is very floppy, because I want to get through these anthologies. It's just a matter of motivating myself to do that, and I have some ideas on how to move forward, because like obviously I'm not going to try and read this book in 1 month, or any of these anthologies in 1 month. But those are the books that I bought. I hope you enjoyed this. This is my first official monthly TBR, and I like to keep it going. At the same time, I told myself I wouldn't buy any more books. So hopefully there will be nothing to show in the future, but I can already tell you that there are some books coming in late in November that I bought in October. So you are going to have a November wrap-up. And by December, what are the chances that I will not feel in motivation to buy books? Because it's Christmas, you know? Okay, I will catch you next time. Let me know for any of these books, what one should I prioritize? And again, have a great day. Goodbye.